Time now for UpFront Thursday, a look at the week in Wisconsin politics, and the headlines just dominated by the battle between Governor Evers and GOP legislative leaders over the governor's proposal to put power in the voters' hands to determine what referenda they want to see on statewide ballots. And we welcome in Matt Smith, of course, the executive producer and co-host of UpFront and the political director at WISN TV. So, Matt, I don't know if it was surprising, the GOP reaction yesterday to the governor's proposal, but it was certainly scorched earth. Was that the risk of the governor proposing this idea on the first day of the legislative session? That seemed to be rather a pointed move by him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've seen this song and dance before, right, with the Democratic governor and the Republican-controlled legislature. I think the governor and the administration fully knew what the response was going to be from Republican leaders. Speaker Voss, just after my question, came out and said it quite definitively that it was dead on arrival. Yeah, listen, we've seen this play out before. You're going to see this when the governor puts things in his budget like Medicaid expansion, like recreational marijuana, all of these wish list items for the governor that he knows Republicans will reject. It's kind of like this tug of war game, right? Like every side is going to pull through this budget battle. Where it ends up in the middle is going to be really interesting to see if it does end up in the middle, if the governor's able to veto stuff. So no, not totally surprised. I don't think anyone was surprised at the reaction, but you're going to see this political posturing now for the next couple of weeks or even potentially months as everyone starts to debate the state budget.
And Matt, where it typically tends to play out then is in the courtroom, right? We're in this phase of legislation by litigation, and on the same day that all this was taking place yesterday, the Senate, of course, passed that voter ID resolution. The Assembly is going to vote on it Tuesday, which means it's going to be on this constitutional amendment. It's going to be on the ballot in April. That'll make it 6 constitutional amendments since control of the Supreme Court changed to a liberal majority. Is this a coincidence?
No, I mean, listen, Republicans know full well the implications of the state Supreme Court race in April. So look, they're racing to codify the law and enshrine it in the state constitution. They're fearful they will straight up come out and say that if liberals maintain control of the state Supreme Court, that Democrats will attempt through litigation to overturn or at least loosen parts of the state's voter ID law. This would make it much more difficult. So no, it's no coincidence that we're seeing these constitutional amendments come up over and over again. It's now working to prevent a potential liberal majority in the state Supreme Court from taking action.
All right, let's look at that race because there was some news yesterday. Dane County Circuit Court Judge Susan Crawford, the liberal in the race, announcing what she's raised, a record $2.8 million in fundraising, right, since she's entered the race against former Attorney General Brad Schimmel. She has $2.1 million in cash on hand. So is this just going to blow the 2023 race out of the water in terms of finances?
Yeah, I mean, it very likely could. We haven't seen the TV commercials yet. I mean, just pause, cross your fingers. That's coming because this is coming in April. It's going to be frantic. It's going to be insane. And it probably will break records again nationally in terms of how much money is spent on a state Supreme Court race. Money coming in from outside, money coming in from the state parties, because everyone knows the implications. And in 2023, with the Protasewicz race and Dan Kelly, it kind of tested the waters, right? In terms of how political are we going to go? We're kind of hint at some things. We're going to take money, more money from state parties, from Republicans, from Democrats. I think the gates are going to be wide open this point because the test worked, right? Janet Protasewicz, in a sense, came out and talked about abortion and talked about these key cases that came before the state Supreme Court, and she resoundingly won. Brad Schimmel, Susan Crawford are going to do exactly the same on opposite ends. So I think it's going to be a race like we haven't seen before. And just like it did almost 2 years ago, it's really going to set the stage for future court races, not only here in the state of Wisconsin, but across the country.
All right, let's go back on working with the governor, the legislature, and the governor. There is that case in front of the Supreme Court now. You're going to have Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu on the show on Sunday. From the folks you've talked to, what's the GOP's willingness to work with the governor, its connectivity, if you will, to this case that's in front of the Supreme Court challenging his veto power?
Yeah, we'll see, right? So that case is happening. We'll see how that plays out in terms of what the governor has in terms of power of his line item veto. As we look ahead to the state budget and legislation, the governor has said that because there are a slimmer majority, he feels confident that maybe Republicans and Democrats will work together more. That being said, Republican leaders and the governor have yet to meet. They have not met since the election. Not quite sure if they've even spoken. So even to get them in the same room, Republicans in the Assembly, Republican leaders in the Assembly, Senate, and the Democratic governor, that has yet to happen. So like, we're not even having conversations in terms of the leadership in all of these chambers. So I guess we'll see what happens moving forward. That being said, I mean, still look to last year, right? The Brewers deal, the shared revenue, those were major bipartisan pieces of legislation, so it can be done. We're just in this moment of time where everyone is going to posture a little bit ahead of real budget discussions. They'll likely come, but everyone's going to have a little fun with it before they sit down and really start negotiating.
Absolutely, especially in this early part of it. I mean, we're a ways away from really having to get stuff done. All right, Matt, we're also just 2 days away from seeing you coming up on UpFront on Sunday. We'll see you then.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chris.
All right, and a reminder, you just have to wait through Friday and Saturday, and then you can watch UpFront this Sunday and every Sunday right here at 10 a.m.